This is Tony Smith's Norton. Tony Smith was a Norton fanatic. He used to race Nortons in the production racing series, which was the precursor to the superbikes. He was a privateer, he was a farmer based in Oxfordshire, and he would often beat the factory Norton boys. And his big claim to fame was beating Slippery Sam on a Triumph Trident at Silverstone at the British GP. And the year after that, Norton employed him as a factory rider. And this was his road bike, and he preferred the Dominator featherbed frame, which this is, but he wanted more power, so he had the Commando Mark III 850 engine in it, and he said he preferred that engine turned a few degrees, so he did it just how he liked it, dampened it with springs, and he was an absolute Norton man through and through. And I knew him in his later years, bought a restoration job from him, and then when he came to sell his old bike, he offered it to me and I couldn't resist. It's a lovely bike, great power. I go with a race team who race vintage sidecars around Europe and England in the Prometheus Cup. But I go with my old bikes, helping them as just a team helper, but I ride in the parades and the demos, which isn't racing, on my old bikes. And what's quite amusing is there I am on a road circuit in Chimay in Belgium, and I'm surrounded by race bikes, vintage but race bikes, with guys who have raced all their lives and are having a bit of a ride out. Initially it's a little bit scary because they fly past me at a hell of a speed, but all the spectators at the events love it and like the old bikes. So actually the more original and the more they remember the bike from when they were younger, the more they love it. I actually ride because I was moaning to my boss about how long it took me to get to work, and he said, why don't you get your bike licence? And I said, well, that's a good idea. Now, I'd worked as a courier controller in the 80s when I was about 18, 20 years old. And I really, at that point, you were either a biker or you weren't a biker. So then latterly, when I became a biker, I felt really guilty because these guys worked hard, wet, snow, rain, and I was hard as nails to them. And in hindsight, I was cruel, not knowing what it's like to now ride in the rain, in the wet. I love the curves, the feeling of speed, the freedom. I love all the details. I like the English details. I like some of the engineering, some of the turned screws, knobs, bits. I'm not mechanically minded, but I'm using this as a way to become more mechanically inclined. It's just the fear of taking it apart, not being able to put it back together, but I'm getting help from a lot of old guys, and I'm learning stuff every day. I don't know why, but from a young age, as a kid growing up, the fascination was BSA, Royal Enfield, the Norton, and those just stuck. And so when I got to later in life, didn't learn to ride till I was 40, then you get to your 50s and you can afford one. It's now about something goes wrong with it and you have to tinker, fettle, get it right, and then the feeling when that is right and it rides well, that you've achieved that fixing. And it's continually looking after them, keeping them alive. My most memorable trip was in Laos. I remember I found a guy who ran a little travel agent in the high street of Luang Prabang. He organised hiring a bike. I took my then girlfriend, now wife, on the back. He was in front, and he sold the trip to another guy, a Frenchman, who I've seen since in France, because we made a really good connection when we were on the trip. And we were on the dirt track for 3 days. We stayed overnight in villages with zero power. There was one standpipe. If you asked them nicely, the ladies would move away from doing the washing while you had a quick shower. And that was fantastic. That was really good fun. I'd do that again. And the views were amazing. To ride a bike well on the road, you have to only focus on motorcycle riding. And when you get off of a long journey, you do feel refreshed. Although tired, because it is tiring, you do feel refreshed. So I think there is a degree of emptying your brain of all the mess. To me, motorcycle riding is all about the freedom, the speed, the flow, the curves, and the tipping into the curves and out of the curves. I think it just means a free and easy way to get about. Yes, I like there's always camaraderie, you'll always get assistance, the nodding to the other riders, enthusiasm, fun with the other guys. I enjoy it.